Welcome to The Great Podcast, a show where we look at the important men and women of history and decide, once and for all, if they are worth all the fuss. My name is Jordan.
And my name is David. Thank you so much for joining us for episode 2 of The Great Podcast. And Jordan actually read the script, so we got that done in under a minute this time.
Not on camera, no proof.
Yeah, that's true. Last time it did take 5 minutes, though.
That was a lot of messing around, though.
Yeah, that's true. We were in such a hurry, or more, I was in such a hurry last time, that I also didn't explain the format of the show or give any shout outs to the inspiration for this show. So I thought maybe I should do that to start off today. Brief breakdown of the format. I'm going to explain to Jordan about an important person in history. We are going to go through their life and their accomplishments, and then at the end, break them down in 5 categories: mastery of military might, terrible tyranny, lives of the living, departing demise, and lasting legacy. We each are going to give them a score out of 10, meaning they could somehow get 100 points total. That's the max they could get, but it'd be really hard.
Impossible.
Augustus will probably be close. No spoilers, but
I don't know, man. I really like the last guy.
Yeah,
I don't know if I can rank anybody higher.
We'll have to talk about that. And we'll kind of go into what these categories mean a little bit more as well. And then at the very end, we have 2 extra pieces to this. We're going to give them some kind of title that we think is fitting, like the crazy, the wonderful, whatever, and then decide if they are worthy of the title the Great as a separate piece. Because some people in history are called the Great, and you can kind of go, I don't know about that. So we're going to decide. And then a shout out to the inspiration for this. So Roman Emperor's Totalis Rankium is what got me interested in this format. They copied a podcast called Rex Factor, also a great podcast. So check both of those out. We're starting with important people from Rome. And we're skipping quite a few. We're not going to be covering every single emperor or anything. But if you're interested in that, Totalis Rankium has all the Roman emperors and almost all the way through all the Byzantine emperors. So big shout out to them. We're stealing your format, kind of. Thanks. All right. So let's recap very briefly Julius Caesar. What did he do, Jordan? I'm putting you on blast here.
Not going to remember.
We only recorded it 2 weeks ago. Come on.
Like flashback to high school. Pop quiz. What did he do? Okay. Well, he did whatever he wanted.
Anything.
He did everything he wanted. He started a major war with I guess the barbarians,
the Gauls.
Gauls. There you go. But yeah, in general, barbarians. Won some pretty big battles there. Pretty much wiped them out after like 7 or 8 years. Yeah, something like that.
Close,
really long.
Yeah.
Then he was like, I'm going to keep running from my problems. If I keep leaving, they can't actually charge me with my crimes, obviously.
Right, the Senate.
Yeah. Did a lot of that. Got his own legions, like 10 of them.
Yeah.
Went back to Rome eventually and was like, I want to be in charge. And then he was, and then he died.
Yeah, that's a pretty concise summary.
Pretty much.
Yep.
Pretty much. But he had the people in his heart. I think he was a good guy.
Yeah, he's one of those twisted ones where it really depends on your perspective.
Yeah,
because to some people he was the scariest butcher ever, and to others he was a savior of the Republic.
Yeah, I suppose that's just kind of the tale of time, though, honestly.
Very true. So I think I mentioned very, very briefly that he named an heir right before he died that no one knew about. Do you recall that?
I want to say yes, but I have to say no.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay. So let's jump right into this young boy who is the grandnephew of Caesar.
Grandnephew.
Octavius.
All right. Cool name. I like it.
So let's talk about him. So Gaius Octavius was born in Rome on September 23rd in 63 BC. He had a well-to-do family. His great-grandfather had fought in the Second Punic War. That was the war with Hannibal. So big time. This was like one of the biggest wars in Roman history to this point. His father was also the governor of Macedonia, and his mother was Caesar's niece, as we mentioned. And Octavius was actually raised primarily by his grandmother, Caesar's sister.
Okay. So that's why he had a close relationship with them.
Yep. So while Caesar is rising to power, doing all the fighting in Gaul and then the Civil War, Octavius is a young boy And near the end of the Civil War, he's around 17-ish.
Okay.
So just about fighting age,
right.
or at least leading with his uncle age. While Caesar was off in Hispania fighting some of Pompey's lieutenants, actually, I might be wrong about that. This might have been the second time he went back to fight Caesar's sons. I'm not sure. But Octavius went off to join him. He was like, okay, now's my chance. I'm old enough. I'm going to go out and join my great, powerful uncle. But he got sick and then shipwrecked.
Dang.
And he never got to join the fighting.
Dang.
Shucks.
That's unfortunate.
There will be a few of these where, shucks, I could have been there, but I wasn't.
Even tried to get there.
Still, Caesar was impressed with his grandnephew for his resolve because he was still trying to get to him despite these setbacks. Upon his return to Rome, Caesar secretly put Octavius down as his main beneficiary in his will.
Oh.
Because Caesar didn't have any legitimate male children.
Okay.
So Octavius was then undergoing military training in Illyricum, which is to the east of Italy. And they were preparing to go invade Parthia, I mentioned last time, which is essentially the Persians, but not the Persians.
Right.
Same
just
area.
The same area.
Yep.
Okay.
Because they had killed Crassus by pouring molten gold down his throat.
Right.
In that process, what I didn't mention was they took the Roman standards, basically the kind of like flags that they weren't flags, but that they carried. And this was a big deal. Losing one of those was the biggest embarrassment. So Caesar was planning, after he became dictator, to go get those back. It's very important. And it will be a problem for decades. But it was at this time, while he was training in Illyricum, that news came through that Caesar had been assassinated.
That's unfortunate to hear. That's got to be rough for the kid.
Yeah, this was the guy that was going to make him powerful. And, and now he's dead. So Octavius rushed back to Rome, unaware that he was Caesar's heir. He found out while he was making his way back. Mark Antony, Caesar's right-hand man. Yeah, very important in Caesar's episode, even more important in this episode. So he was in Rome at the time. He had tried to warn Caesar
unsuccessfully,
but did not get there in time. And so now he was kind of in a position of power because he was Caesar's right-hand man, and the people loved Caesar. However, he was proposing clemency for the assassins, which was very unpopular, naturally.
It's a fairly Caesar thing to do, though.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, this clemency was definitely Caesar's thing. So he also tried to overturn Caesar's will and withheld Octavius's inheritance. Because obviously, if Octavius is his heir, then Mark Antony can't really be in charge.
Right. Unless he kiss ass again.
Yeah. So he made up a story about Caesar and Octavius having a sexual relationship, and that's why this shouldn't go through. Highly unlikely.
Right.
Really doesn't seem quite
doesn't
like
seem like kid quite ever got there. So
no. Well, Octavius found out what was going on while he was traveling back towards Rome, and at this point he changed his name to Gaius Julius Caesar because he had been adopted.
That'll do it.
That's what you do. This was very common with adoption, and we need to get you your family tree.
Hold a family tree.
So what I was going to say is there's quite a few Gaius Juliuses.
I can see it in my brain.
Yeah, we'll grab that in a moment. But so this was really common during adoption. And at this point, historians start calling him Octavian rather than Octavius, and he will change his name a few times.
Good. Just to keep things nice and consistent.
Yes, right.
Easy to remember.
So he's not even 20. He's about 19 at this point, and now he's about to march towards Rome. So he marches towards Rome. He picked up several thousand of Caesar's veterans along the way who were all too happy to have someone to follow and pay them.
Right.
He won them over with money and his claim to Caesar's appointed heir.
That's
Meanwhile, Antony was losing favor with the people by going too light on the assassins and pushing against deifying Caesar. Which I didn't look into it too deeply to figure out why, like his reasoning, because there's just so much to cover this week. But it does seem strange that he was like against Caesar being.
Yeah, you think he'd just kind of go, well, maybe he's just because he's trying to be in power, right?
Right.
So if Caesar gets deified and then Octavian is his heir, they're gonna be like, oh, he's the holy heir, making it even that much harder to try to gain favor. So maybe he's just trying to put a little more roadblock in there.
And that's actually a really good point because in a little bit here, Octavian will start calling himself the son of a god.
Well, there you go. I mean,
Caesar's been deified. So yeah. All right. So once in Rome, Octavian amassed a sizable force around him of both military and political power.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And lots of people were flocking to him. Antony fled the city to take control of Cisalpine Gaul after the Senate granted it to him. This is one of the territories that Caesar had at one point. But there was a problem because Decimus Brutus of the "and you, Brutus" quote fame had already been assigned that province before the assassination. So he's there. Yeah.
Awkward.
Because he fled. And he refused to back down when Antony arrived.
Yeah, no, he just got done assassinating someone. I don't think
like,
he's going to back down.
My
from
province
that.
now. You can leave. Antony besieged Brutus against the Senate's wishes because the Senate is like, can we stop having civil war, please?
This guy is just losing everything of favor he's ever had now. He's just really just trampling
now, though,
on his own reputation.
Just give him a moment. He stays in this story for a while.
Yeah, I bet.
So Antony besieged Brutus. The Senate was not happy, and Octavian had a small army with him at this point. And the Senate raised him to senatorial class. He wasn't actually in the senatorial class at this point. And they granted him propraetor imperium, which is commanding power, the authority to command legions, which legalized the armies that he already had.
Wonderful.
Like, okay, well, if you already have them, I guess
you
we'll
can
give this
command
to you.
them. That's fine.
Yeah, which is kind of the story of Octavian throughout, where it's like, okay, well, you kind of already have this power, and instead of fighting about it, why don't we just say you have it officially?
We'll just make
now.
it legal now. Okay.
Yeah, right. So Octavian set out with the 2 consuls for that year. A reminder, there's 2 consuls elected every year, and they're essentially the most powerful people in the government and the military leaders. He was granted equal power to the consuls for this campaign. So already this young man who's about 20 at this point, given a lot of power. You couldn't be a consul until you were 40.
Right, yeah.
So, like, this is a big deal. They defeated Antony's forces twice pretty quickly, but both consuls died in the fighting. Yeah.
Hey. Look at that, Octavian. Whoa. Weird position you find yourself in here.
Strange. So after this, who do you think got the praise for defeating Antony?
Octavian.
Brutus.
No? Oh.
The Senate heaped praise on Brutus, one of Caesar's assassins, despite Octavian obviously
actually
doing a lot of it.
Going there, yeah.
Yeah. And the legions sent with the consuls were ordered to be handed over to Brutus, the assassin.
Did they listen?
Octavian refused.
There you go.
And it's funny, too, because the Senate really had not learned not to piss off people named Julius Caesar.
Yeah, man. You'd think they would have learned their lesson. It's been a while of the Julius Caesars doing what they want. You think they'd be like, okay, we'll listen to you. What do you want?
Maybe we'll just, you have my ear, sir.
Yeah.
Octavian sent some of his men to Rome, not like an army, just some men as a delegation, and demanded a consulship, as one might expect.
At the age of 20.
Also, strangely, you can see the changing of allegiances at this point. He demanded that Antony's public enemy status be rescinded.
Oh, okay.
So Antony was a public enemy by the Senate, and
makes sense.
And now he was like, well, maybe we could team up or something. I don't know.
Smart man.
And the Senate refused. So what did Octavian do?
I don't know. I'm guessing maybe he did what Julius did before him and just like, well, this is what the people want. So I'm just going to kind of do what I want until the people support me. And then you're going to have to support me too.
Close. When you said he did what Caesar did, I thought, oh, you got it.
Oh,
but
no.
it was the march my legions on Rome.
Oh, he's going to assert dominance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Remember, Caesar marched with the 13th Legion, one. Yeah. Octavian had 8.
He just said, nah, we're here. Let's just go.
Yep. The Senate quickly changed their mind about him being consul. Oh, no. We meant...
You didn't hear me right.
I
said
misspoke
yes.
or something. Yes, I think we can do this. So, Octavian teamed up with Mark Antony and this man, Marcus Aemilius Lepidus, who is important but not really.
Okay.
Lepidus was another strong supporter of Caesar. And he had kind of teamed up with Antony before Octavian agreed to team up with Antony. Mm-hmm. So this created the second triumvirate.
Good. Was this one more known, or was it still pretty secret?
I love that you mentioned that. So the first one was Caesar, Pompey, and Crassus was a secret,
right,
under the table thing. This was official.
The
government said, okay, we're going to take out the assassins and end the civil war. You 3 are essentially the 3 dictators.
Oh, well, was it kind of like 3 consulates?
More, because dictator
But
had
more power?
yeah,
They
'cause-
legit gave them the title of 3 dictators.
Not officially, but
Okay.
yeah, it's kind of weird. It was a special thing for them.
Okay.
Where they split up the republic and took different territories to be in charge of until they
Interesting.
finish fighting.
Okay, until
Yeah.
everything was stabilized.
Yeah,
Okay.
and to stabilize things, let's kill a lot of people.
Well, yeah, if you get
Prescription time.
if
Let's
you-
go.
If you get rid of all of the people who oppose you, you're only left with people who agree.
And who,
you know?
and who opposes them mainly? Senators. So
Right.
several hundred senators and a couple thousand equites, which is a rank below senator,
Okay.
but above plebeian,
Right.
had their properties confiscated. And if they were captured, they were killed.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Cicero is a major figure who we have been glossing over a lot, and people are probably sad that we haven't mentioned him. Very important senator. He was killed during this.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, it was not good. Lepidus even allowed his brother to be killed.
Ooh.
Yeah.
He went all in.
Yeah, this was a bloody mess. The seized funds were then used to pay the legions so they could go off and fight the assassins.
Makes sense.
So the 3 men were wiping out their political enemies while making massive amounts of money. So
and
much money.
making massive armies.
Yes,
Good.
yes, correct. So they're heading off to defeat Brutus and Gaius Cassius Longinus. Those are the 2 main assassins that they're heading over to Greece
Okay.
to fight. So before heading off to war, as I mentioned, Octavian pushed to have Caesar deified and then began calling himself Divi Filius, the son of the divine.
It's a great name. It's
Yes.
a good move.
You know, and he has so many damn titles. Like later we'll see how he gets Augustus. That's not even his name. That's
just
a
a
title
title,
that
but
we
he's
now
known
call
by it in
him.
history.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So Antony and Octavian set out for Greece. Brutus and Cassius were waiting for them, and they fought 2 major battles at Philippi, which Antony won. Brutus actually overran Octavian's camp after the first battle, but thankfully Octavian wasn't there.
Oh, yeah.
A little strange that you wouldn't be with your camp.
I don't know. He's got
while
a
on
problem
campaign.
getting to places, apparently.
Yeah.
He's got.
Yeah. So both Longinus and Brutus committed suicide after the second battle was lost. I think Longinus committed suicide after the first battle, but they both committed suicide
They're
for
like,
fear of being
Let's
captured.
not get tortured to death.
Yeah. So Antony obviously used this victory as a means of belittling Octavian because he was barely there. He sent his
right.
friend Agrippa to help in the fighting. Like, he doesn't even fight for himself.
Okay.
Was essentially the message. Remember the name Agrippa.
Agrippa. All right.
Very important, and we will be talking about him a bit. So with the assassins sorted, the Republic was split between the triumvirs. Antony took the east and shacked up with Cleopatra in Egypt. Octavian took his uncle's conquered lands in Gaul and Hispania. And Lepidus got Africa, the smallest, weakest province. That doesn't matter much. And we'll see that Lepidus doesn't matter much. Octavian had tens of thousands of troops from both sides of the Civil War who were promised land for their service. And there was no public land left to give out.
That's unfortunate.
So what do you think he did?
Well, it's either time to go conquer some more land or make some private land public.
Yeah, the second one.
Okay.
Now, bear in mind that in the future, conquer more land is very much in his repertoire. But for now, he took around 18 Roman settlements and forced the people to vacate them so that his troops could have the land. Yeah.
Yeah, go just find a different place to live.
Yeah. Well, when your option is pissed off farmers or pissed off soldiers,
Yeah, I guess.
you
Yeah,
piss off the farmers.
Yeah.
Because those soldiers are going to go farm too.
that's fair.
Yeah. So this angered a lot of people.
Yeah.
And many in the Senate did not like this young man walking around with massive armies who could march on Rome at any time. This was made worse when Octavian requested a divorce from his wife.
Oh, no.
She was the daughter of Mark Antony's wife from another marriage.
Okay.
And Mark Antony's brother, who was a very powerful member in the Senate, Lucius Antonius, raised an army to take Octavian down. This was the last straw.
Okay. No good.
How do you think that went?
Well, I know Octavian gets more titles, so I don't think he lost.
You don't think this is the end?
I don't
told you
think
this
so.
was going to be about a 2-hour episode.
Yeah,
so.
I don't think this is quite it.
Oh, Octavian crushed the rebellion.
Yeah. Well,
Executed 300 senators for siding with Lucius.
How many senators do they have?
Yeah, thanks for asking.
So many are just...
And hold on real quick. I said executed.
Yeah.
I meant sacrificed.
Oh, well, good.
A quote from
Okay.
Suetonius. He took vengeance on a host of prisoners, answering all who begged for pardon or offered excuses with the same words, "You must die." It is said that 300 knights and senators were selected from among them as a human sacrifice at the altar of the god Julius.
That seems like a problem.
Yeah. The Romans had... I can't express this well. They didn't do human sacrifice.
No.
It was not okay.
Yeah.
It was strictly outlawed at least 100 years before this and was taboo as hell prior to that. So he executed 300 of the most powerful people in Rome, or sacrificed, to Julius Caesar. This was also on the anniversary of Caesar's assassination.
Wow, how fitting. That's
Yeah.
nice. That's poetry right there.
So if you're keeping track, about 500 of the highest ranking men in Rome have been killed in a couple years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're right. There aren't that many senators. You know, there are hundreds, but not thousands.
There's so many.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's talk about Sextus Pompey.
Sextus Pompey, huh?
Yeah.
What a name.
Sextus. Gotta emphasize that. This is one of Pompey the Great's sons,
Okay.
who is still kicking around. He's actually ruling his own chunk of the Republic in Sicily. He's got control of most of the islands around Italy.
Okay.
I believe including Corsica and the other one up there that I can't remember the name of right now. He had the strongest navy of all the players at this point. Strong because the Romans don't do much navy stuff, but Pompey was one of the great naval leaders as well as military infantry leaders. So his son had taken over Sicily and now controlled lots of stuff. So I just grabbed Jordan the Julio-Claudian family tree that should be up on the website at thegreatpodcast.net, assuming everything goes right and I actually get that working. So this is going to be important moving forward. So we have Pompey's son Sextus ruling Sicily, and Octavian, in a shrewd move, marries a relative of him. I couldn't figure out what the relation was. It said a relative.
Just a relative, all right.
Named Scribonia.
What a name.
Yes. This was done to secure this alliance and protect shipping routes to Italy, because if he could block grain coming from Africa, Italy would starve.
Good.
That's
that makes
how
sense.
Italy was always fed. The two had a child, and Octavian divorced her the same day the baby was born.
What a move.
Yes. Yeah. So
Thanks for the kid. I'm gonna go find someone else.
correct. So if you're looking at the family tree, you'll
Yep.
notice that with Scribonia, he has one child,
Yep.
and that is the only child he has.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Her name is Julia, and she
Yeah.
will be important later. Moving past that for now, though, he then married Livia Drusilla, who will be a very important figure in our story. But this obviously upset Sextus
Right.
quite a bit, who then cut off the shipping routes to Italy so it would starve. He did this to force Octavian's hand, which worked, and Octavian granted him more islands in the Mediterranean and a guaranteed consulship. But like Caesar before him, Octavian did not like being told what to do
Right.
at all. So Octavian managed to get the triumvirate's term extended for another 5 years. This was an official thing
Right.
that was 4 or 5 years, and they're like, but look,
It's
with
still not
Sextus
there
out
yet.
there,
Yeah.
we're not settled yet. This isn't going to go well. And this helped to grant further legitimacy to his rule. The longer you're in charge, the more people
Right.
are, it's just normal. But he called upon Antony for ships to help in the invasion of Sicily, because Antony was out in the east shacking up with Egypt through
Right.
Cleopatra,
Yep.
and Egypt actually had a navy.
Yes.
Still a separate kingdom at this point. So the deal with Antony was that Antony would send ships to help take Sicily, and then Octavian would send 20,000 men to Egypt so Antony could invade Parthia, because they're still trying to get that done. This is years later. The ships came. Octavian teamed up with Lepidus, given his close proximity to Sicily, to invade the island. Now, our boy Agrippa, we'll talk a little bit more about this in Mastery of Military Might, but Agrippa was actually in charge of the navy and had been building up his own navy.
Okay. Just kind of like...
And it's kind of badass how he did it. So we'll talk about that later. But so Agrippa came in clutch yet again and destroyed the enemy fleet at the Battle of Naulochus, something like that. So this is excellent. We won. Woohoo. Lepidus, who again was in charge of Africa and had helped with the invasion, saw this as his opportunity to not be the other guy in the triumvirate.
Right. You got to make yourself known here.
He claimed Sicily for himself and then demanded that Octavian leave and leave his legions.
Come on, man. You know better.
He must have been pretty disappointed when all his troops kind of awkwardly shuffled over to Octavian's side. It's like, I don't know, bro.
This guy's got more power and fame and money. I don't know.
Yeah. So he's essentially kicked out because Octavian exiled him. But he didn't kill him, and Lepidus got to remain Pontifex Maximus for the rest of his life.
Okay. So, well, whatever. You shot. Didn't work out. You get a comfortable life. Just chill.
Yeah, just relax.
It's all right.
And that's the end of Lepidus.
I mean, it could be worse.
It's. I feel like we only really include him because it's nice to have a second triumvirate instead of two dudes.
Well, but I mean, that's still accurate, though.
Fair.
It was a second triumvirate.
It was. It really was. So you remember those 20,000 legionaries that Octavian promised to send to Antony?
Yes.
He sent 2,000.
Almost.
It's
you
close.
Missed a zero.
There's a zero not there.
But
Antony did not take kindly to this.
Yeah.
And partially because of this, he did really poorly in his Parthia campaign.
Oh.
Yeah, so we still don't have those damn standards back. It made him look really bad, too.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, and here Octavian is winning everything, and Antony can't even take out the Parthians.
Undermining him. Smart move.
So, seeing he was going to get no help from Octavian, Antony turned to Cleopatra. In doing so, he also sent his wife, Octavia, back to Rome.
Well, this is confusing now.
Who do you think Octavia was?
I don't know. Related to Octavian somehow.
His sister.
Okay, well.
Yeah. So he sent back one of the most powerful women in favor of a foreign queen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So easy ammunition for the people in the West to go, look what he's doing.
Right there. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not good. Octavian also proclaimed that all the civil warring should end now. We settled it. And he would step down as a triumvir, but only if Antony did.
Yep.
And Antony refused.
Right.
Naturally. So now, again, Antony looks really bad.
They're like, this guy's just wanting to grab power.
Yeah.
Man, wow. He's just really twisting the facts. That's good.
So in an attempt to strengthen his image, Antony then went and captured the kingdom of Armenia.
Okay,
so all good. Yay. Capture it for the Republic. Wait, you want to give it to your son?
Yeah, not the Republic.
Wait,
Come
what?
on now.
He also gave titles to Cleopatra. He was clearly more interested in the status of his foreign queen than his own people.
Well, yeah, he sent his wife back. He's just giving this new land to his son.
Yeah. As always, not everyone in the Senate was against Antony, but so many defected from the Senate to because they saw the writing on the wall. This is getting bad. But they're like, we're going to go over with Antony. But then Octavian did something very risky and very unacceptable.
Oh.
We need to talk for a moment about the Vestal Virgins.
The Vestal Virgins. Is this one of those ancient groups of virgins that are just like holy women and they're pure and untouched?
Yes.
Okay.
And so respected and revered that all the important documents of Roman society are kept in their house.
Oh.
Because they wouldn't do anything with them.
Because, it's impossible.
And no one would touch the Vestal Virgins.
Oh, boy.
Right. They also, in their important documents files, kept all the wills of the important people. So Octavian burst into the temple of Vesta one day and took Antony's will.
Ugh.
This, it cannot be understated, was a no-no.
Right. Well, I mean, he already sacrificed 300 people. Might as well.
Yeah.
Might as well just ruin everything else that's sacred and holy.
For sure. And if he hadn't found something super juicy, he probably would have. This probably would have been the end. There's a good chance the people would have said nope.
So he found more in the will that's going to be painted against the people.
Oh yeah.
To help buffer that. All right.
He not only took Antony's will, he published it in the forum.
Oh, good. Let's put it up. Hey, take a look. See, I'm not lying.
So, Antony's will declared that on his death, many of the conquered Roman lands would be granted to his
Egypt?
sons.
Oh, okay.
Who were the sons of Cleopatra.
Yeah. Yeah.
He had some sons that were older and from other wives, but
he didn't care about them.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So now he's pledging Roman lands to a foreign leader.
Setting up foreign kingdoms all around the Republic. Yeah. For his own benefit.
Yeah.
And
that doesn't look good.
It does.
That looks real
not.
bad.
Antony's consular powers were stripped.
Yeah.
And the Senate declared war on Egypt.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah. They would not stand for a Roman man to be bewitched by some foreign whore.
That's what happened, too.
Yeah, that is exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So confident that
Definitely
that's the
the
truth.
woman's fault.
Always. You will see.
No.
You will see a lot of that.
Couldn't have been the man.
No. He was bewitched.
That's right.
She was beautiful.
That's right.
How dare she?
Oh my God.
So this is a trend you will see throughout
history
this series.
is great.
So Octavian crossed the Adriatic Sea with his army. That's going over to Greece again. Thanks to Agrippa leading with his newly formed fleet. Antony and Cleopatra were in Greece at the time, and the plan was to cut them off from escaping back to Egypt with their own fleets. Many of Antony's men soon realized that they were surrounded on land and sea and began deserting to Octavian's side.
Well, there you go.
Seeing this, Antony tried to break the naval blockade and book it back to Egypt. But as mentioned, Agrippa was leading the fleet, and you don't mess with Agrippa.
Yeah, he seems like kind of like a badass.
Yeah, he's really cool. Yeah. If we had the time and the desire, we could do a full episode on Agrippa.
We'll see.
But we'll cover quite a bit of him here. So the Battle of Actium was a pretty decisive thing. It took a lot of fighting, but let's just say that Agrippa outnumbered Antony and had better ships. So Antony lost.
No good there.
Antony only managed to escape with his life because Cleopatra swooped in with her own fleet and got him out of there, basically while the rest of their army was dying or deserting. So the two noped back to Egypt, but the writing was already kind of on the wall. Octavian gave chase and beat their remaining forces in Alexandria, but he lost like 20,000 men to desertion as soon as Octavian showed up in Egypt. So
Anthony did?
Antony did, yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, they are Roman, right? So they're like,
I
don't know, this seems kind of sketch.
Seems kind of Egyptian.
Yeah,
I don't know about this.
I don't know, man.
So suicide seemed like the best course for the two lovers at this point. Antony actually thought that Cleopatra was already dead, so he fell on his sword.
That's like a Romeo and Juliet situation.
Yep. But to his surprise, Cleopatra was still alive.
As he fell on his sword.
Yeah, so like so he didn't die right away. He stabbed himself in the abdomen.
He's
so
bleeding out and he's like,
he was brought to her. And then
no.
Yeah, he got to bleed to death in her arms.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, I guess that's kind of nice for him, but
yeah. So quote from Suetonius here on Cleopatra's death. Wishing to preserve Cleopatra's life so she might adorn his triumph, Octavian had a Psyle snake charmer brought, believing her to be dying from the bite of an asp, to suck the poison from her self-inflicted wound. It would also be venom, but there's a myth, and it's impossible to know. Either she poisoned herself or she had an asp brought in to bite her, so she would die.
Interesting.
And then there's a separate story of the asp where either she had it bite her breast directly or she had it in a bowl of figs, like a basket, and then would just reach in to grab them. And then, so the death would kind of come.
Interesting.
Surprisingly.
Interesting.
Yes. Yeah. There's just a few stories.
That's what I want to do. If I want to commit suicide, I need it to surprise me.
Just
a
shotgun on the other side of a door, but you don't know what door.
Yeah, right? Like, just got random traps. I don't know where they are, but one of these will get me.
Yeah. So it didn't work. They didn't get the venom out. So Cleopatra died.
Right.
Now, to his credit, Octavian buried both of them in the tomb that they were building for each other. And then he killed Antony's eldest son,
Well,
but spared the rest because they were still children.
okay.
And then he turned his attention to Caesarion.
Okay.
Do you remember Caesarion?
It's a name that sounds familiar.
Yeah. So I mentioned very briefly that while Caesar was shacking up with Cleopatra, they had a son,
Okay.
and his name was Caesarion.
Okay.
But he's also known as Ptolemy the 15th, and he was at this time 17 and co-ruling Egypt with his mother.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
So now we have kind of a problem.
Right. Wait. Okay, so that's Caesar's son, which makes this his cousin. No. One of his cousins.
Yeah,
Somewhere
in there.
removed.
Yeah.
Because he's Caesar's great nephew,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, somewhere in there. He's
something.
related.
He's related, but he's more related to Caesar than Octavian is.
Yes.
Yep.
Directly.
So what do you think he did? Remember that Caesar had a great love for clemency.
He did. Mm-hmm. I don't think he probably didn't just murder him, because he seems also kind of like a guy that doesn't really just want to murder all of his people against him.
Really?
I don't
He's slaughtered 500 senators already.
Well, true.
Yeah. Oh, he executed him.
He did?
Oh, yeah.
That's unfortunate.
And I don't have the quote here. Dang. There's a quote that he said about killing Caesarion that I don't have, and I can't remember it, so I'm not going to butcher it, but it was pretty brutal.
Was he
basically like, there shouldn't be two Caesars. There can't be.
did he at least have grief over it?
No.
No? See, that's what I'm saying. I don't think I can rank anybody higher than the OG Caesar. Man, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. So another quote from Suetonius before all the names.
Yeah.
Augustus, Caesar, Octavian. Before Octavian left Egypt, here's what Suetonius had to say. At this time, he ordered the sarcophagus containing Alexander the Great's mummified body to be removed from its shrine, and, after gazing at the body, placed a golden crown on its brow and strewed it with flowers as a mark of respect. Asked if he would like to see the tomb of the Ptolemies next, he replied, "I wished to see a king, not a row of corpses."
Ugh.
Oh, and he had just killed the last king of Egypt.
Yeah.
Yeah, savagery. So there's a different quote that I think is also pretty poignant. It was at this point that Egypt went from kingdom to Roman province.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yep. So Octavian set his soldiers to clearing irrigation canals and helping set up Egypt as the breadbasket of the Republic. Now, this is huge. Egypt would go on to be the main source of food for Italy and then later Constantinople for centuries. This was a big turning point. So now he's in a position to rule all of Rome.
Right.
No one's really able to stop him at this point. But Octavian had learned from Caesar's mistakes. He would not force the Senate to name him king or dictator. However, he could not relinquish the power he had gained because someone's going to kill him if he does.
Right.
Yeah, it's just how it's going to go. The Republic had spent nearly a century in one civil war or another. This has been just a terrible time. And finally, Octavian is here as the one person who could stabilize it.
Just the great uniter, this man.
Yeah. And this is kind of where Caesar was, but Caesar then went power hungry and was very openly antagonistic to the Senate and everything.
Well, yeah, he was very crass of, I'm going to do what I'm going to do.
Yeah. So Octavian's plan was to put on a constant charade of deference to Republican ideals. Oh, yeah, this is the Republic.
Yeah.
He said.
Definitely.
Definitely,
sure.
100%. I was elected here. And what's funny is the 4 centuries to come, they do not change that. This is the Republic.
That's funny.
Even with emperors for 1,000 years, that we are talking about the Republic of Rome.
No, definitely a republic.
Yeah. So in 27 BC, Octavian returned all the powers granted to him by the Senate during the Civil War.
Sure he did.
However, here's what he had going for him. So he had held many powerful positions in the government. While he no longer had direct control of the provinces and armies, his veterans still loved him. He was also the richest man in Rome by this point, because pretty much everyone he killed, he had taken all their wealth.
Right.
And many people also owed their positions and wealth directly to him.
Right.
So a very powerful position to be in.
Lots of money, lots of people in his debt.
And we should clarify that, quote, gave up all his power did not actually mean that.
Yeah.
He made a show of giving back all the titles he had been granted during the years of the triumvirate. The Senate then insisted, oh God, no, you must keep these
on
positions.
Their own, for sure. They
How
liked
could
them
we
so much.
possibly accept your resignation?
Right.
Like, imagine this is them. Why not just run all the provinces we've conquered in the last century? Huh? Like, we think you're the perfect man for the job.
Yeah, that's definitely how it is.
And after some loud reluctance, Octavian had no choice but to accept.
What a good way to do that.
Yeah.
That's smart.
Yep. I call this section the Shadow Emperor.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's good.
This is known as the first settlement with the Senate. And he was given most of the provinces in the Republic for 10 years, which made him insanely powerful. He was essentially in charge of over half the Republic by himself. He also then had control of 20 legions.
Okay.
The Senate only had control of 5 or 6.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. It was around this time that the Senate granted Octavian the titles of Princeps, which means first man. This is actually the title that he went by most of the time in his life.
Okay.
Because he wanted to be first among equals. That was the role that he was putting forward. And Augustus.
Okay.
Which means approximately illustrious, to be august. Which is what we call him today. And that title would go on to mean emperor, essentially. You are the Augustus.
Gotcha.
Yep. So that's where this happens. Now he was truly becoming what we think of as emperor. However, he took great pains to keep the appearance of democracy going. He would not wear a crown or hold a scepter like a king. He did not live in a large palace or wear incredibly fine clothes. However, he did maintain his position as one of the 2 consuls for many years. Just to I am in charge, and here's why, because I'm a consul.
Not an emperor.
I'm not an emperor, but I am the consul over and over and over again.
Okay.
This made a lot of people question his position.
Yeah.
Because you're not supposed to do that.
It's supposed to be a year.
And then
right?
you're done for 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
This has a negative side effect of frustrating many senators, since their odds of becoming a consul, which is what they're all striving to do,
that's like
has
the
been cut in
pinnacle
half.
of their career.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now one man's getting it over and over and over again. It was around this time that Augustus got very ill.
Oh, no.
Death was truly knocking at his door. Now, he's a sickly man. His whole life, many illnesses hit him, but this was a big one where it truly did look like he was going to die. And having no solid heir at the time, he handed his signet ring to Agrippa.
Okay.
Yes. Well, this was not official, because how could a democracy have an heir?
Yeah, you can't pass an heir down to an elected role. That's not how it works.
Yeah. Remember, this was a democracy.
Right. Republic.
But here's my ring just in case I die. It was clear what was happening. Everyone understood. And Agrippa was even given proconsular power. Remember, that's like a governorship of a lot of provinces at this time. Not as much as Augustus, but it was clear like, hey, if I die, you're going to start listening to my main general and best friend. But Augustus survived.
Pulled through.
And after his illness, Augustus decided to step down from being consul. Other people deserved the spot, and he could see that it was kind of becoming a problem. And some senators were getting a bit yappy, so he wanted to just kind of get them to shut up. So that's it. He gave up his power and retired peacefully, becoming an ordinary senator.
That's not it.
Nope, just kidding.
That's not it.
While he gave up his consular power, he was still in charge of all of those provinces and their legions. He had proconsular power within all of those provinces, which means the only person that could really say anything to him were consuls.
Okay.
But within his province, he was the consul.
Yeah, okay.
You know, that's essentially what this means. As consul, he had authority over proconsuls of provinces ruled by the senators. But now he didn't.
Right. Not officially, anyways.
And that leads us to the Marcus Primus affair. So Marcus Primus was a proconsul of Macedonia.
Okay.
This is a senatorial province, not one that Caesar or that Octavian rules. Or Augustus. We're going to start calling him Augustus. He was brought to trial for starting a war with a kingdom in Thrace. This is Marcus Primus. Thrace was an ally to the Senate. Augustus was accused of giving the order to attack, and this was a problem. Since Macedonia was a senatorial province and Augustus was not consul,
Right.
he had no authority to give any orders to Marcus
That's
Primus.
right.
Obviously, Augustus denied the accusations. The story was then soon changed. Marcus Primus was found guilty and Augustus was found innocent. But this left a really glaring problem. What if Augustus had been involved? Which he probably was. But what if they had found out and accused him of being involved? What could the Senate do to stop him if he decided that he wanted consular power across the Republic?
Nothing.
So what do you think the Senate did at this point?
Elected him into power?
They granted him permanent consular power over all the provinces.
There you go.
Like I said, sometimes it's just like, oh, what if he did? Maybe we should just let him.
Yeah, like, let's not get another civil war. Let's just keep the peace.
Yeah. So this is known as the Second Settlement, where essentially he's given full power.
Yeah.
And historians don't agree on when officially he becomes emperor because it's not a real title yet.
Right.
This is where I consider the Republic to become the empire.
When he's granted just
Full
power
power.
over the whole Republic.
Everything.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yep.
That makes sense.
So here it is. I believe this is in 23 BC.
Okay.
So that's about it for there's a lot more that he does, and we'll cover that more in the ranking section of military and success and stuff. But now I think it's important that we look at his family and the people around him, because more than many other emperors, his success is his ability to pick the right people to do things.
Okay.
So let's take a look at the man himself first, and we will start with a quote from Suetonius talking about how short he is. So his short stature was concealed by the fine proportions and symmetry of his figure. It is said that his body was covered with spots and that he had birthmarks scattered over his breast and belly. Also, numerous callous places resembling ringworm caused by a constant itching of his body and a vigorous use of his striggle, which I don't know what that is. It sounds dirty.
A striggle. Yeah.
He complained of his bladder too and was relieved of the pain only after passing stones in his urine.
Well, there you go.
Going back to kind of a sickly person.
Yeah.
But he lives a long time. He was unwell throughout most of his life, as I mentioned, and had several near-death experiences throughout. So let's talk about his wives.
Right.
And this is where it's important to have the family tree, because this does get a little bit confusing. So his first marriage was to Claudia, which was Mark Antony's stepdaughter.
Okay.
Nothing important really came of this marriage except that it really pissed Antony off when Augustus divorced her.
Okay.
But they didn't have any children or anything.
Exactly.
He, quote, returned her untouched, I believe is how he said it. Like she was still a virgin. They hadn't consummated.
All right.
So the second marriage was to Scribonia.
Yes.
This was Sextus Pompeius's relative. Unsure exactly how. They were married almost exactly a year. And on the day Augustus, or not Augustus, on the day Scribonia gave birth to Julia, Augustus divorced her.
Oh, good job.
Yeah.
You're going to have to find a different place to live.
Yeah. Yeah. Then he found Livia Drusilla. She would be the love of his life and stay with him until he died.
Wow.
Now, she already had 2 sons
Okay.
by another man who Augustus had actually defeated in the wars. And he politely said, hey, how about you divorce her so I can marry her? To which I believe it's Tiberius Claudius Nero is his name.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was like, yeah. Go ahead.
It's like, sure.
Yeah. So she had 2 sons by him, Tiberius and Drusus the Elder.
Okay.
So that's where we are. We've got Augustus with Scribonia, had 1 child, Julia. And then Augustus married Livia Drusilla, who already had 2 sons, Tiberius and Drusus. So that brings us up to speed. Now, we hear through the grapevine that Augustus and Livia really loved each other, and they worked very hard together to maintain this charade and keep up public image so that Augustus could stay in power.
Of their love together? Or
It was important to show the unity of the emperor and the empress, and we'll talk about it in a bit, but family values was their thing. like that, hardcore conservative.
Gotcha.
This is how you should behave.
Okay.
Yeah.
Forget about the sacrifices.
Yeah.
We're doing the thing.
And also forget about Augustus being a prolific womanizer.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's fine. Livia is cool with it. Do as I say, not as I do.
That's right.
So while running around being a very, very prolific womanizer, Augustus was publicly pushing for a very conservative society. Yeah, family values is a phrase we hear in the modern day, but he pushed them very hard, and the penalty was death for not following.
Come on.
So,
man.
like most modern politicians, he had no issues with him not following these rules.
Right.
The purpose was to maintain the status quo. He actually executed a freedman, a former slave who had been freed, who was his friend, for sleeping with aristocratic women.
Oh, for just to prove a point.
Yeah, this was a breach of the social order.
Yeah.
So, according to Michael Kerrigan in A Dark History of the Roman Emperors, which I will reiterate from last week, I don't know how accurate this book is. It's a full textbook on the dark things Romans did, but take a little bit of it with a grain of salt. He felt so strongly about the potential upheaval to society that adultery could cause that Augustus brought in legislation outlawing it. A husband who caught his wife with a lover was legally entitled to kill them both. The same right existed for a father who caught his daughter in adultery. A husband who learned of his wife's infidelity had not just a right, but a duty to divorce her within 60 days, and she would be banished. Notice that this is all those evil women, why can't they keep their legs together? Not, why are these guys all sleeping around?
Well, yeah, why would the guy do that if the woman wasn't enticing him on purpose?
The only time that it matters what a man does is if he's of a lower class.
Yeah.
Similar to the homosexuality thing we discussed before.
Right.
It's like, you can have gay sex, it's fine, just you better be on top.
Right.
Or you are not a man, was essentially.
Wild.
Yeah, it's very strange. These laws on marriage and infidelity appear to have been ineffectual, as one might expect. Didn't do too much. The aim was to increase marriage rates and children born.
Okay.
Because civil wars really hurt populations.
So do mass execution, sacrifices.
Yes.
Sorry, not executions.
Yes. And famine caused by the civil wars. And yeah, it's just not good. So let's talk about his daughter, Julia, because she's very interesting. His only child.
Right.
By the time Julia was a married, quote, adult, it was clear her children were probably going to become the heirs to Augustus's power, since he had no other biological children. She was first married at age 14 to her first cousin, who's not on our map because he's not very important. Yes, you heard that right.
The first cousin.
Yeah.
It's a little close in the relation, but
A little bit. Marcus Claudius Marcellus. Agrippa actually officiated the wedding while Augustus was off fighting in Spain. So again, you can see how close Agrippa is to the family. And Marcellus was clearly going to assume Augustus's power, but then he died 2 years later.
Then he died.
Yes, you'll see that is a reoccurring theme.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't like unfortunate.
Oh no, he just got sick and died.
Oh, his was just
you'll
unfortunate.
See that the reason I have that family tree is because we're going to be talking about a lot of people who should have been the next emperor who then died.
They died.
Yes.
And it's
so with no children from this marriage, Augustus moved quickly to get Julia remarried right away. So don't look at the thing.
Listen, it's too late. I saw the name a long time ago.
So who did she marry?
Looks like Agrippa's right there.
Marcus Agrippa, baby.
The best friend.
Yep. So she was around 18 and he was 25 years older.
I really thought, for some reason, you were going to say he was 25. I'm like, wow, he was really young to be fucking all those people up.
Nope. No, 25 years older.
Well,
yep. So he's around 40.
That's, I don't know. I imagine fairly common for the time anyways.
Right. Now, she hated it.
Yeah.
Because her first cousin was attractive and young.
Oh,
and now this old man that your dad smokes on the weekends with.
Yeah, that's fair.
But you'll notice that they had quite a few children. Yes. So this dislike between each other did not stop the baby making.
Right.
So they had, I'll just name them quickly in no particular order: Gaius Caesar, Julia the Younger, Lucius Caesar, Agrippina the Elder, and Agrippa Posthumus. So those are the 5 children. Now, when Agrippa died in 12 BC, Augustus then forced Julia to marry her stepbrother, Tiberius.
God.
So Tiberius is the eldest son of Livia Drusilla,
Right.
Augustus's wife, from her first marriage.
The non-empress empress.
Right.
Gotcha.
So they're step siblings. Step bro, what are you doing?
Come on now.
Yeah. And this was bad. This was a bad thing to do because Tiberius was happily married.
Oh.
Very happily married and really upset that
Man.
he was being forced to divorce. Augustus made a lot of people divorce so that he could have his marriages.
In his conservative,
Yeah,
very
yes.
conservative family value society,
Yes.
you must divorce your loving marriage.
It was not good. And Julia was pissed. She despised Tiberius. Well, by one account, she despised Tiberius. By another, Tiberius just despised her and she didn't get it. She was like, why? So it's kind of hard to tell. But Tiberius was so upset about being forced to divorce that at one point he actually saw his former wife and followed her for blocks
Oh, okay.
through the streets. And then Augustus said, if you see her again, I will kill her. You cannot see her. Yeah. Tiberius is a very sad man.
Yeah, that's a rough life right there.
Yeah. So this marriage would only produce one child who would die in infancy. So you'll see there's nothing on there worth talking about.
It's a rough one.
As mentioned, Augustus was pushing family values throughout his reign. So wouldn't it be a shame if his daughter was out having blatant affairs and partying publicly with men? Wouldn't that just be awful?
Would be a shame.
Yeah, so after many years of turning a blind eye to Julia's indiscretions, Augustus rounded up many of her lovers.
Oh.
Many of her lovers.
Did he kill them all?
One was even a son of Antony.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Imagine, I have a feeling that one was by design to piss her father off.
Probably.
Yeah. Many of these men were exiled, but a few were forced to commit suicide, including Antony's son.
Forced to commit suicide.
Yeah, that's another theme.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not going to execute you, but maybe it would be
kill
best.
them. I would never.
Maybe you not being alive would be a good thing.
Right.
Yeah. Her marriage to Tiberius was annulled, and she was sent into exile. Quote from Michael Kerrigan, again, that dark history. She was exiled, sent to the offshore island of Pandateria with Scribonia, her mother. She was allowed no contact with men and no luxuries, even wine. Augustus, deeply embittered, would never refer to her thereafter except as his cancer.
Oh, God.
Underneath his anger appears to have been very real hurt.
Yeah.
He's trying very hard to do something very important, and she just can't fall in line, is how he sees it.
Right. She just won't let me dominate her life, and I don't understand why.
Yeah. Well, now, there's a theory that the reason he finally put a stop to all this was because Antony's son was actually involved in a plot with Julia to basically become the heir.
Okay.
Yeah. So he finally was like, you know what? I can't put up with this anymore. I'm done with this.
Maybe if you didn't force her to keep marrying these people.
Right. So she would remain in exile for a few years even after Augustus's death. And then it was likely that the next emperor had her and another of her former lovers executed. But the details are sparse.
All right.
So while in exile, she was executed.
Cool.
But I won't say who the next emperor is
Not
because
yet.
I don't think you know who it is. And
We'll get there.
It'll be a fun mystery. Needless to say, she did not have a peaceful death.
No. Or a peaceful life, really.
Right. So now we need to talk, more importantly, about the succession. Because at this point, it's clear. He's in charge and someone's going to take over after.
Right.
And we need that to be figured out or it's just going to be civil war.
Before he dies, yeah.
Right. With no male children of his own, Augustus relied on Julia's children.
Right. He's got grandkids.
Yep. So let's take a look at
three
that map.
grandsons.
So first came Gaius and then Lucius. When the second grandson was born, Augustus adopted both of them
Oh, okay.
and took their education into his own hands. He was like, okay, you are now mine.
What about Agrippa?
He's not born yet.
No. The man, he died, yeah?
He died
Agrippa,
in 12
his
BC.
best friend?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So that's actually my next point. So while the boys were very young, their father, Agrippa, was the heir apparent.
Yes.
He was going to be the heir
Yeah.
until he died in 12 BC. It was clear that these boys are not going to last long if Augustus died before they came of age.
Oh, yeah, no. They'd
Like,
just be killed.
Just little boys. Yeah. What are you going to do? This is why Augustus forced Tiberius, his stepson, to divorce his wife and marry Julia. Because then he was the guardian of the boys.
Okay.
And it's important to mention that by this point, Tiberius is a famed general. I haven't mentioned much about that, but like he could be the heir.
Okay.
But he's just not part of the bloodline. So Augustus is like,
I can't.
Yeah. So this family is the Julio-Claudian dynasty. You can see it there in the corner. And the reason for that is the Julius Caesar side, and then Livia Drusilla's side is the Claudian family.
Yeah.
So that's where all this is. So Augustus is just trying to keep it in the family. So with Tiberius now the adoptive father of Gaius and Lucius, things look pretty good. And so let's talk about both these boys. So Gaius and Lucius grew up to be very popular. They were charismatic and very good at what they did. They were kind of spoiled brats, as one would expect for royal princes. But Gaius did become a good leader in his early adult life. In 1 BC, so this is quite a few years after his dad died, at age 19, he was given command of the eastern provinces. And here he oversaw a peace deal with the king of Parthia. So he's doing a lot. He's clearly being given important roles. Then in 1 AD, he got his first consulship. And clearly the royal family is being fast-tracked for this kind of stuff. During this time, however, his little brother Lucius died of a sudden illness at age 18. So that's one heir down. So you can go ahead. I gave you a red pen. We're going to start crossing names off. I guess you can cross
You're
off
dead.
Agrippa.
You're dead.
Yep.
Sad day.
Yep. So lots of people dropping. This left Gaius as the sole heir to the empire.
And he's still the eldest of the grandkids. So
Sure is. So in 3 AD, Gaius was putting down a rebellion in Armenia. He was called into one of the rebelling cities to meet with their leader and discuss terms. But it was a trap.
No!
Gaius was severely wounded and barely escaped. His lieutenants managed to get him out of the city.
Oh, man.
Yeah. The city was then taken by force after heavy fighting. Everything seemed okay at first, but then as the weeks went on, Gaius fell more and more ill.
Dang infection.
And like started to break mentally.
Yeah.
And this wound lasted a long time. By 4 AD, he told his grandfather Augustus that he wished to retire from public life. He was in so much pain and was so beaten by this that he died shortly after.
Ugh.
Augustus tried very hard to be like, no, it's you can't give up. You have to keep going.
You'll be fine.
So you can go ahead and cross off
He's
Gaius.
dead and he's gone.
Yep, and it's gone. So these men had been trained for the last 20 years almost in preparation for this, and now they're dead.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, number 3.
So Agrippa Posthumus.
There you go.
So as you can probably
ding.
tell by the name Posthumus, he was born shortly after Agrippa, his father, had died. So that's why they call him Agrippa Posthumus. So after the death of the heirs, Augustus scrambled to fill the void because he's getting older at this point.
The time is running out.
Yeah. So Agrippa Posthumus was the youngest grandchild of Augustus. He was not given the same honors or political advancement as his older brothers. He was not given the same education.
Just kind of the neglected one, huh?
Yeah. He was also not adopted.
Right, yeah.
But this was actually intentional so that he could carry on Agrippa's line.
Okay.
He was essentially Agrippa's heir.
Yeah.
And, Augustus didn't want to take that from him. With little option, though, he named him heir in 4 AD.
Yeah.
Augustus named Agrippa heir. Sorry, I should say Posthumus, so it's less confusing.
Well, Agrippa Senior's dead.
Yeah, Agrippa
so.
Senior's dead, and Agrippa Posthumus is a child.
Yeah.
But he was not named heir to the empire. He was not going to ascend to imperial power. He would just inherit Augustus's fortune, not his authority as princeps.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But that didn't matter anyway.
Yeah.
Because it's not exactly clear why. Augustus banished his grandson to a small island in the Mediterranean. The main theory is that he was such an angry, brutish little dickhead with a taste for violence and nothing else that Augustus just couldn't stand him.
He was just a spoiled, neglected kid that got angry, had power and money, and wanted to kill people.
Yep.
All
so
right.
I think he was in his late teens when he was banished.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and it was bad. Augustus instructed the Senate to surround the island with guards and never let him out. Ever.
God, wow.
Yeah. He was killed by his guards shortly after
For
Augustus's
trying to
death.
escape, I'm sure.
No.
There's air quotes here.
The next emperor needed no pretext for killing him.
Oh, okay. Well, right.
Yeah.
No.
So you can cross off Agrippa Posthumus if you haven't, because he
Dead.
doesn't. Yeah, he'll be dead by the end of this.
That's unfortunate. All 3 of his best friend's kids, huh?
So yeah, that's and his grandkids.
Right.
Yep.
You know.
So that's all the grandchildren down. Who do you think is next in line?
I mean, technically Tiberius?
So yeah, Livia Drusilla has 2 sons.
Yeah.
Tiberius and Drusus, who are both very accomplished military leaders.
Yeah, they're already pretty prepped for leadership.
And again, the only reason Augustus didn't want them in,
They weren't directly in the bloodline.
and they're a bit older
Yeah.
because they're, they were already born by the time Augustus was doing this stuff. So let's talk about Drusus then.
Okay.
As I mentioned, he was a great military leader, and I'm going to give you a fairly long quote here from just Wikipedia because Drusus did a lot that you'll also want to remember for mastery of military might for Augustus later, because a lot of this was him. He launched the first major Roman campaigns across the Rhine and began the conquest of Germania, becoming the first Roman general to reach the Weser and Elbe rivers. In 12 BC, it's the same year Agrippa died, Drusus led a successful campaign into Germania, subjugating the Sicambri. Later that year, he led a naval expedition against the Germanic tribes along the North Sea coast, conquering the Batavi and Frisia, and defeating the Chauci near the mouth of the Weser. In 11 BC, he conquered the Usipetes and the Marsi, extending Roman control to the upper Weser. In 10 BC, he launched a campaign against the Chatti and the resurgent Sicambri, subjugating both. The following year, while serving as consul, he conquered the Matachi and defeated the Macromani and the Cherusi, the latter near the Elbe. So basically all of the Germanic tribes.
Yeah, this man is just expanding the borders.
Yes. So you'll see that Drusus the Elder on our map has a son called Germanicus.
Yes.
So whenever they have an icus at the end of a name, it means conqueror of.
Oh, okay.
So conqueror of Germany, he actually passed that title to his son.
Interesting.
So Drusus the Elder really did it, and then he gave that title to his son.
Gotcha.
So that's not his real name, but that's a title. So along with Tiberius, his brother, Drusus did a ton of fighting and did very well. However, in 9 BC, at age 29, Drusus fell from his horse and suffered a great injury.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
You've been riding horses forever.
Yeah. So Tiberius rushed across the Republic to see his brother because he lived for a month. But once Tiberius got there, he died. Yeah.
And
so
he's
poor
gone.
Tiberius, too.
What a terrible life that guy's had.
Yeah.
He had it all and lost it all.
Yeah.
That's
and
rough.
Just awful.
Oh,
and though he died young, he was the father to one future emperor and grandfather to another.
Okay.
So we'll see how that plays out. For those who aren't looking at the family tree, several emperors have kind of their famous nickname, and I've not put those on the family tree. So Jordan can't, even if he did know their famous name, he's not going to tell who they are.
Correct.
Yeah. So Tiberius, highly decorated military leader, as I said, alongside his brother, fought many campaigns in Germania and the Alps and other places, put down revolts. He did a lot. Very successful. He spent most of his early life winning wars for his stepfather, Augustus. The death of his brother took a great toll on him, as did Augustus, forcing him to divorce the love of his life and marry a woman he despised, who cheated on him and made a fool of him. Tiberius and Augustus did not get along on a personal level.
I can't understand why.
I don't know why.
I don't get it.
It's really, you should really put all this behind you, Tiberius. He longed to be with his former wife, and he loathed Julia. He was tired and wished to escape public life. This was at the height of his military and political career. He had just been married to the emperor's daughter.
Yeah.
He was winning. And then he said, I want to go.
Yeah, he's like, I'm good, man.
I just want to go.
I'm retiring.
Go live on an island, please.
Yeah.
Augustus refused.
Right.
And Tiberius went on hunger strike.
Nice.
So his mother, Livia, the wife of Augustus, spoke in favor of Tiberius, and Augustus relented. Augustus had been going to the Senate and basically decrying Tiberius as a coward.
Oh, okay.
And saying he wants to give up. He's a quitter. But he finally gave up, and Tiberius went off to the island of Rhodes in self-imposed exile. And now, again, to keep this clear, this is before Gaius and Lucius died.
Right.
So he's off doing his thing in around 4
Is
BC.
this before or after Julia was banished?
This is I believe she got banished shortly after he left.
Okay.
Because he's been basically trying to stay away from her.
Yeah.
On campaign yeah. So then she gets banished, and then his marriage is annulled, and So he had wanted to come back a few times, but Augustus was like, "No, you decided to leave.
Yeah, you left on your own.
So you just stay out of here." But then you fast forward to 4 AD. Both his grandsons are dead.
I need
Posthumus
an heir.
is a little shit. So
I need a fucking heir.
yeah.
Hey, you want to come back again?
So Tiberius was recalled and adopted by Augustus, making him officially his son.
Yeah.
With the added bonus that Tiberius would also adopt his nephew Germanicus as his own heir.
Okay.
This is again the son of the late Drusus the Elder. Thus, the succession was once again secure, and spoiler alert, this one sticks.
There you go.
So Tiberius is our next emperor.
Okay.
So, the death of Augustus.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, so Augustus died on August 19th in 14 AD. He was just shy of 76 years old.
That's an old, sickly man.
Yeah.
For someone who's battled disease their whole life and lived that long at that time period.
Yeah.
He just survived off of pure anger.
yes. And willpower. I want to be in
stubbornness.
charge. This needs to stick, or we'll all have been for nothing.
God.
So some say he reigned, as I mentioned earlier, from the first settlement in 27 BC. I feel he wasn't truly emperor until the second settlement in 23 BC.
When he was given direct, full, entire power.
Right. Either way, he ruled for around 40 years.
Yeah.
This would be the longest reign for centuries to come.
It's a good, yeah.
No one would even come close to touching this until much later, and the person who then later beat him started as a 2-year-old. So wasn't really in charge for most of it.
The advisors were all in charge.
Correct.
Okay.
There's a period in Roman history where generals basically rule in the background. And that's where we get longer reigns. This was truly him. And, if you count earlier where he's building the power, it's even longer. So, around 40 years. And it's crazy. The succession was then smooth. A lot of people hated Tiberius, which we'll cover briefly next week. But he was already co-emperor essentially in these later years because Augustus was getting old and tired and
needed someone to actually take over.
Yeah, and losing it a do bit. Not like going crazy, but old age.
Old, man. Your brain starts going to mush.
Tiberius becomes emperor, and that's it. So what do you think before we hop into our rounds?
What do I think in
of
general
Augustus?
of Augustus?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Not as good as
Caesar.
Was he? Yeah, Caesar. No, what is Augustus? He's not Caesar's kid.
He's
is he?
Nephew. Great nephew.
That's right. Great nephew.
Yep.
I'm sorry. The tree starts with Augustus.
Yeah, I don't have
the
Caesar
part.
up there because he's less important.
Great nephew.
Yeah.
He's got some Caesar-esque qualities in him. He did a good job.
Yeah, you
I
seem
suppose.
unimpressed for arguably the most important and most impressive emperor.
I don't know. Not Caesar, man. Caesar really that's that bar.
Mastery of military might.
Let's talk briefly before we get into mastery of military might. I want to discuss what it means because we didn't have that really established last week.
No.
So you had given Caesar, arguably the greatest military leader in Roman history, a 9.5.
I did.
And refused to give him a perfect score because his subordinates lost a battle at one point.
Yep.
So I wanted
Can't
to
be perfect if you're not perfect. Okay,
No,
that's how scores go.
Yeah, okay. So I wanted to counter that because if that's the standard we set, we will never have perfect scores from you for that rank.
And you shouldn't.
Okay, so let me say what I think mastery of military might means. Say that I am a master guitar player. Not true, but let's just say it.
Right.
I have certainly had hiccups and failures along the way to mastery of anything, including guitar. So saying mastery of military might doesn't mean you're an undefeated perfect general, because there's like 2 of those ever. It means you're really good at it. You think on the fly, your skills are very high, and we also need to discuss this because it's already important for Augustus and in future things with queens who, later kings that never actually fight, but they're good at leading. Like for
delegating,
Like think like Dwight D. Eisenhower as president of the U.S.
Yeah.
He was a great military leader, but he wasn't on the beaches.
Right.
So we
That
need to think
changes throughout history, though.
Right. So we need to think about how we rate this, because in this one, Augustus himself doesn't do a ton of fighting personally, but damn is he successful by telling his troops where to go and putting the right people in charge.
Yeah.
So I would argue that Caesar was a perfect 20 out of 20. You don't have to change it if you don't want to, but it seems silly if we'll never give a perfect score, because then what's the point of having a 10-point system?
I don't know. With scoring, we have different philosophies on it.
That's
A perfect
that's
is
fair.
like the unattainable.
But it's a score.
Yeah.
Like,
What are you gonna do?
we did give Caesar 2 10s though.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So
What do you? Okay, he did the impossible then.
okay. You don't be so difficult.
You know who I am.
I do know who you are. Since that day, I was like, I need to find a way to convince Jordan to like not do that. So I think we should consider that being, like losing a battle doesn't mean you're not perfect.
Correct.
Okay. By the way, I also didn't give the score last week for Caesar.
The overall score?
The overall score.
Did we not?
No, because I didn't have my spreadsheet. I was typing into my phone. So Caesar, what do you think Caesar got out of 100?
They're all really high. I'm gonna go. You would have to lose 10 total points. 88.
85.5.
All right, pretty close.
Pretty close, yeah. So yeah, he got a 19.5 on Mastery of Military Might.
Yeah.
13 on both Terrible Tyranny and Lives of the Living, and then perfect 20s on Departing Demise and Lasting Legacy.
Right.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and we decided to call him Julius Caesar, the Great Radical.
That's right.
Yes.
He did whatever he wanted.
which I also want to point out, we can include the Great in the nickname, or we can give them a nickname and then say they also deserve the Great. It's kind of a separate thing. But yeah, I liked the Great Radical idea, so we stuck it in there. All that said,
Right.
I have a very long list of things I need to share with you about Mastery of Military Might for
Okay.
Augustus. Bear in mind, a lot of this was other people doing it at his command. But he defeated the assassins of Caesar. He did little to actually participate. Like, he was there, but wasn't actually there. He may have run away before the camp was overrun, which some might call smart and some might call cowardly.
Right.
Many believed this at the time, and he spent years trying to repaint this image. He undertook great construction projects to convert some lakes into a harbor, specifically to build and train a fleet to defeat Sextus,
Smart man.
which this was primarily undertaken by Agrippa, which I mentioned earlier. He had this massive lake essentially dug out into a harbor because they couldn't practice in the sea
Well, right.
because there was enemies out there.
Yeah.
So they built and trained a fleet in this custom harbor that then went out and defeated Sextus.
Did they transport the ships from the lake to the sea then? Or were they just training ships?
I believe it connected to the sea.
Okay.
But it was easy to close off.
Gotcha.
I might be wrong about that, but I think so.
So I know either's possible.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, they could have moved them. But yeah, so Romans were not big on sailing. So to do this was big. And this was the first official naval port built for that purpose.
That's pretty awesome.
Yes. He defeated Antony and Cleopatra. This was also mostly Agrippa, but he was definitely there when they went to Alexandria and won. Now, a very long quote from Suetonius. Augustus commanded in person in only 2 foreign campaigns. In Dalmatia, when he was still a young man, and against the Cantabrians after defeating Antony. In the former campaign, while fighting, he was wounded in the right knee by a sling stone. In the latter, both arms and a leg were badly injured by a bridge collapse. This is part of my theory why he stopped going out and fighting, is he
probably
realized...
couldn't.
Well, he probably also realized, shoot, if I die, this all falls apart.
Right.
Maybe I should not do that.
Right.
His other wars were conducted by his generals, though during the campaigns in Pannonia and Germany, he visited the front or was not far behind, traveling from Rome to Ravenna, Mediolanum, which is Milan, and Aquileia. Either as a commander in the field or as a commander-in-chief of the armies under his auspices, he conquered Cantabria, Aquitania, Pannonia, Dalmatia, and all Illyricum, as well as Raetia and the Alpine tribes of the Vindelici and the Selasi. These are words I can't say. He also checked the Dacian incursions, inflicting heavy casualties and killing 3 of their leaders, drove the Germans back across the Elbe, except for the Suebi and the Sigambri, who after surrender were resettled in Gaul near the Rhine, because we need more people, and pacified other tribes who were a source of trouble. One last thing, the Parthians, too, readily accepted his claim to Armenia, again, the Parthians, the Eastern Empire that they keep having to deal with, and not only returned the standards they had seized from Crassus and Mark Antony, but also offered hostages. They were so scared of him that they're like, you know what? You can have these back.
Just take it back, please. Don't
just leave us
destroy
alone.
us.
And once, when there were several rival claimants to the throne, they insisted on accepting only the candidate that Augustus chose. Yeah.
All right.
So a
Pretty
lot.
big impact.
His reign was one of massive expansion.
Yeah.
No other emperor would add more territory to the empire. Ever. Except if you count when they lost everything and regained it all
And
back.
Took it back.
Yeah, that's the only other time that this much territory would be captured. Now, Trajan would oversee the largest extent of the empire in 117 AD, about 100 years from now, but he didn't expand as much as Augustus did. Agrippa, Drusus, and Tiberius were the three powerful generals during Augustus's reign. And as I mentioned, his injuries on campaign are likely what made him go, maybe I should just send my stepkids out there to handle this. He delegated very well and saw almost nothing but success in his wars. Except once. We need to talk about the Varian disaster.
The Varian disaster.
Yeah. In 9 AD, so this is very close to his death, before Drusus died, he had effectively conquered the tribes of Germania.
Yep.
They weren't fully incorporated, but they had been well and truly put down. And then another massive invasion made the Romans confident that they had the area pacified. They had sent in another army, and it really looked good. In comes Publius Quintilius Varus. He was put in charge of the area with his 3 legions, so essentially 3 armies walking around Germany. He spent time marching around and asserting Roman authority because they pretty much won, but we just got to make sure you guys understand.
Right. Time to subjugate.
Exactly. So he was heading back across the Rhine into Gaul when some Germans requested, hey, can we host some of your cohorts over the winter? And cohort was approximately 480 men. So they had requested, can we take about 5,000 cohorts or 5,000 men's worth of cohorts, spread them around our tribes and host them for the winter, which was a sweet offer for a conquering army. Like, you want us to have a stronger presence in your land?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Let's do that. So they did that. About a quarter of his army stayed in Gaul, spread out across the tribes. Naturally, this was a trick.
It's a trap.
Yes. The cohorts were slaughtered piecemeal because they're so spread out, expecting to just chill for the winter and then just all dead. Varus was unaware of this.
Dang.
Naturally, because he was still marching the rest of his troops back.
Yeah.
When the Germans rushed to him and begged for help with a revolt in the north, he felt honor bound to help his allies.
Oh, the tricky.
It's very tricky. So this too was a trick.
I didn't see it coming. I wasn't ready.
Right. So Varus marched his remaining 15,000 men north.
Oh, man.
It was rainy and muddy.
To their death.
Yeah. The army was in a thick forest on horrible paths. Then they came across 2 large hills on either side of this path. And the road through was so bad that it was essentially a swamp between these 2 hills.
And everyone knows marching an army through a valley is the best thing you can do.
Well, so I thought I'd ask you this. Yeah, you're in the military, so let me give you this scenario. What might you do if you are faced with a swampy path in a thick forest that happens to run between 2 hills in what is essentially enemy territory? Option A. Go around the hills. This would send you through this thick forest, but probably be a bit safer, obviously much slower. Option B, cross the swamp slowly, 1 cohort at a time. C, send some scouts to check ahead. Or D, march your entire army straight through that swamp with wanton disregard for their safety.
D, please. I'll like to sacrifice all these men.
Good. Then you and Varus are thinking the same thing. So
my
Varus
God.
chose
Why
option
would you-
D.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
As one might expect,
My God.
there were Germans on both hills with bows and spears and slings.
I had no idea.
Couldn't have seen this one coming.
Wow, the perfect ambush spot. Who could have thought?
Yeah. Well, see, and it's important to remember that the Romans, like many powerful armies of empires, really found ambushes and guerrilla tactics to be dishonorable. So they didn't think that way, which is stupid.
The good downfall of like the imperial armies being like, no, fighting like that's not allowed.
We don't do
You
that.
can't do that.
If you come out here and face us, we will win. So come here.
So therefore, we're gonna win.
Yeah. So the Romans took heavy casualties.
Yeah.
But to their credit, managed to get a defensive shield wall and then start building their fort. And remember, the Romans at this time carried their fort with them.
I mean, that is their bread and butter.
Yeah.
The shield wall and mobile fort building is what they do.
Yes.
So
So they quickly, Varus was able to get up the shield wall and then start building a fort out of the swamp so they could hunker down. But they lost a lot of men.
Yeah.
This was bad. The next few days saw them going in and out of the forest, hoping to draw out a proper battle. But it just kept being stones
why would
and
you do?
arrows.
Why would they do? They have you surrounded. Why would they be like, form the lines, take them on?
But obviously, the Germans didn't give them that battle. But on the fifth day, the Germans launched their largest ambush.
Okay.
Varus was wounded in this fighting.
Dang. Poor guy.
And when he saw the battle was a lost cause, he killed himself. All 3 legions were completely wiped out,
Yeah.
slaughtered to a man.
Yeah. That's
Years
unfortunate.
later, they would come through this area and see so many bones that
man.
the men wept.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. This is known as the Battle of the Teutoburg Forest, and it is infamous. This is one of the worst defeats the Romans ever experienced.
Yeah.
It was bad.
It's unfortunate.
It can't be understated how shocking this was to
Right.
the people of Rome.
Oh yeah, it
And
makes
Augustus.
sense. It just, I mean, Drusus pretty much conquered it all, and they're just going through, putting all the final touches on it, essentially.
Yep.
And they get decimated
Just destroyed.
out of nowhere.
And it's important to remember that, sometimes we think, well, that really sucks. We'll just reinforce that area with the other armies. There weren't other armies.
Yeah, no, they died. He killed them all.
These men could not be replaced without completely weakening another part of the frontier because the empire is huge.
Yeah.
And has
Yeah.
a lot of borders. Around this time, there are about 28 legions total. And you just lost three of them
Yeah.
in a couple days. That's bad. So Tiberius was actually sent off with some troops to keep everything calm.
Right.
Or basically, I'll just read the quote. Quote from Chris Scari, I think that's how you say his name, from the Chronicle of the Roman Emperors. Tiberius moved swiftly to the Rhine frontier to prevent any German invasion of Gaul, but Augustus himself was deeply shocked. It was said that for several months afterwards he went in mourning, cutting neither his beard nor his hair, and from time to time hitting his head against a door, crying, "Quintilius Varus, give me back my legions!" Yeah. Yeah. Remember, he's very old at this
Just
point.
very shook.
Yeah, he's in his 70s by this point.
Oh, man.
So, yeah. And that is it. So, about 40 years of constant military success with one major hiccup. He had Agrippa, one of the greatest military leaders of his age, Tiberius and Drusus, also great military leaders. His son, or his grandson, Gaius Caesar?
Yes, Gaius Caesar.
Also was doing good things in the East.
Yep.
Lots of victories. What do we think out of 10
Right.
for our boy in mastery of military might?
Right.
It's
You
a
gonna
tough
make me
one.
go first
I don't
again?
know. It's a tough one. You've got the greatest extent, or the greatest amount of expansion. And then another thing is, after that loss, he was very shook and said, like, we shouldn't expand more, and left a note personally to Tiberius saying, don't.
Yeah, like fortify what we have.
Yeah, defend our positions, maintain, don't expand anymore. And that goes on for about 100 years, where there's not a ton of expansion.
I mean, it's already massive. It makes
It's
sense.
huge. It's huge. Yeah. And a lot of it, imagine You added all of modern France, large parts of Germany, Egypt, parts of modern Turkey, all in the last like 30 years, 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
So a lot.
Huge expansion.
So much. And then you got to maintain troops in all that territory.
Yep.
So he was very smart. When he did fight personally, he took wounds, which I think scared him off doing it again. But he knew how to delegate.
Right.
He knew what to do, and he was obviously very involved in the planning of these campaigns. He wasn't just sending men off. So since he didn't have any of those personal major victories that really showed him shine, I think I'm going to go somewhere in the 7 or 8.
Okay.
What are you thinking?
It was lower than what I was going to do.
Oh, were you? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm interested.
Yeah.
You can convince me.
Because he has. I mean, he's got all that expansion victories. It's been great. All those good leaders. He does take a hit because he isn't a personal great warrior. Like his
Remember
great
talking
uncle.
like
His great uncle. Yeah, you're right. He was dropping shit, reaching around. I would go. You said 7 or 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
I could be convinced for an 8.
Yeah, I would definitely. I wouldn't go 7. I don't think.
Okay.
I think I'll give him a very solid 8.
Okay. I'll match that.
Because of all of the success under him. He just takes the hit for not being a personal great warrior.
That's fair. I think that's a reasonable thing. Okay, cool. So that is a total of 16 for mastery of military might, and I think that's really fair. Any chance I can get you to change Caesar's score?
I will not retroactively change anything. Never.
All right.
Stands.
All right. I hate it.
If someone's better, maybe I'll give them a better ranking.
Okay, fair enough. So let's move on to the next section.
Terrible tyranny.
Terrible tyranny.
Right. Ooh, right.
Yes. So this section we'll just discuss briefly is what things did they do that were terrible in general or tyrannical.
Right.
And or tyrannical. So both, because some things are not really tyranny, but it's just awful. Like why would you do that?
I can think of one or two. You know, maybe
they
little
go,
things here or there.
So kind of early on in 22 BC, there was a conspiracy against Augustus. Tiberius led the trial against the conspirators. And once a guilty verdict was found, others believed to have been involved were rounded up and executed without a chance to defend themselves.
As they should be.
And this was quickly covered up by Augustus.
Well, yeah.
I mean, you don't want people knowing that you're executing people.
Yeah.
Naturally, so. He marched on Rome with thousands of men to claim power for himself when he was refused it.
No.
Yeah. He enforced strict moral standards that had people killed and exiled while at the same time sleeping around like it was his day job. Yes. Even exiling his own daughter.
Right.
He divorced Scribonia the day she gave birth to his daughter.
He did that.
And forced many people to divorce and remarry for his own political gain. Yep. The proscriptions killed roughly 1/3 of the senatorial class. Yeah. Everyone who disagreed with him had to die.
It's one way to find unity.
This cleared out political problems while making the triumvirate very wealthy. So they're also stealing money. They even cut off Cicero's head and hung it in the Forum.
Oh, jeez.
One of the most important senators. Yeah.
That's a message right there.
Yeah. He put the nail in the coffin of the world's most powerful democracy. This was at the cost of one civil war with the assassins and another with Mark Antony. His early rule was one of fear, violence, and death. Yeah. He was the bad guy, but he won.
For sure.
And created the image of the good guy. So 2 quotes from Suetonius that are not super long. Under the triumvirate, many of Augustus's acts won him the hatred of the people. Once, for instance, while addressing a soldiers' assembly at which a crowd of civilians were also present, he saw a Roman knight named Pinarius transcribing his speech and had him stabbed there and then as taking too close an interest in the proceedings. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're writing down what I'm saying?
Kill him.
I never said that. We haven't heard that before.
Never.
Never heard that before. The second quote. There was also the case of Quintus Gallius, the praetor who, while paying Augustus his respects, clutched a set of writing tablets underneath his robe. Augustus suspected that he had a sword, but dared not have him searched on the spot for fear of being mistaken. So presently ordered an officer's party to drag him away from the tribunal. Okay, so he thought this man might have had a sword.
Right.
So ordered him to be arrested and taken away.
Fair enough.
Gallius was tortured as if he were a slave.
You crossed the line, I think.
And though he confessed to nothing, Augustus himself tore out his eyes and sentenced him to death.
He might have had a sword.
In his own account of the incident, however, Augustus records that Gallius asked for an audience, attacked him unexpectedly, and was removed to prison.
Right.
That being then banished from Italy, not killed.
That's right.
He disappeared on the way to his place of exile.
He just didn't make it there. I don't know what happened.
But whether he was shipwrecked or ambushed by bandits, nobody knew.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So ripped a man's eyes out with his bare hand and then said, I don't know what happened to him.
Might have used a tool.
Fair. Fair. He could have.
Maybe a spoon.
Yeah. So it was very clear that the man was power hungry and ruthless in his pursuit of an even higher position.
Yeah.
Final quote from Michael Kerrigan on this: that Augustus, in his days as Octavian, had himself caused so much of the trouble was mostly forgotten. What mattered was that he was now presiding over peace. So again, bad guy.
Right.
Who really started looking like the good guy later.
Well, he wrote the story.
Right.
So.
And in fairness, once he was in charge, things did get better.
Right. Yeah.
But he's still a tyrant. So let's think. I'm comfortable with a 10. You destroy the most powerful democracy ever for your own gain. You rip a man's eyes out for
to be
possibly
fair, the
having
demise of the democracy was already set in place.
It was. But you put the nail in the coffin of it.
I mean, he wasn't going to turn around. Why would he do that? I don't blame him for that one.
He could have returned power to the Republic.
Yeah, I don't blame him for that one, though.
I don't blame him, but I still think I personally think that he is one of the great tyrants of history, even though it worked out long term.
I'm gonna give him a 9 because it did work out.
Okay.
You know?
if it works,
he
then
didn't just continue being a tyrant after the rule had been established. He could have just.
Well, he kind of did. He kept enforcing the public order laws and stuff.
Yeah, that's fair. But I think I'm going to stick with 9.
Okay.
I don't think he just continued committing genocide for fun.
Probably not.
I think if Agrippa Postumus came into power anywhere, he would be a true tyrant.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If he already had a childhood history of being like, I want to just kill people.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair.
Like for not a reason. There's no gain here. I just want them dead for fun.
Yeah. Thank God Posthumus never got into power, because that never happens. I say with a very knowing smile as you look at the list of people.
You said that he got killed by his guards.
Oh, no. I'm just saying the things that you just described.
Oh, well, yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. That's what makes a true tyrant. I know what happens in history.
All right. So you're settled on your 9?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with 10.
Yeah.
So that's a 19 for terrible tyranny.
Lives of the living.
Lives of the living. So how good or bad were the lives of the people living in this time as a result of them? So I've got pros and cons.
Yeah.
Okay. So pros. The people loved him, particularly later, because
yeah, it was pretty chaotic in the beginning.
Yeah, well, no one knew a time of peace by this point.
No.
There was no one alive had ever lived in a peaceful republic. Like there's a story though. So remember, after he got really sick, he stepped down from being consul after many years of doing it. The people lost their damn minds about this. Oh. They were like, "What? You're not they're taking it from you." The Senate are.
Okay. After he willingly was like, "Nah, fam, I need a rest."
Yeah. In 3 separate years, the plebeians, the average people, refused to allow 2 consuls to be elected.
Wow.
So that there would be a spot open if Augustus wanted it.
Okay.
Yeah, so he really was loved. He sorted out several food crises and eventually created an office for someone to oversee the grain supply to Rome. It's a specific, you're in charge of that now.
From Egypt?
Anywhere.
Okay.
There are other places, but that was the main one later on.
Well, that makes sense.
Yes. So, and the first time there was a food shortage, the people said, give him dictatorial power to fix this or else.
Okay.
And they did, and he fixed it.
There you go.
Yep. He undertook great building works, often at his own expense, the expense of the people whose money he took.
Right.
Yeah. He restored many temples and other structures that had been neglected throughout the civil wars, because wars are expensive. There's a famous saying, I found Rome a city of bricks and left it a city of marble. It's obviously an exaggeration, but not a huge exaggeration.
Right.
Just a few things that he and Agrippa built together. The Temple of Marcellus, which was the Theater of Marcellus, excuse me, which was the first marriage for Julia.
Okay.
The first cousin.
Oh, gotcha.
Who was supposed to be the heir.
Right. Unfortunately, just died.
Yeah. The Temple of Apollo on the Palatine, which is one of the important hills in Rome. The Horologium.
Good.
Horologium. It's a giant sundial that
Okay.
used an Egyptian obelisk as a pointer.
All right.
So a massive sundial. A circular mausoleum, which might still exist, but I'm not sure. And a massive forum of Augustus with its Temple of Mars are just some of the major building projects he undertook. And then Agrippa personally built the Pantheon.
Oh, okay.
Not the one we know.
Oh.
Because it burned down and Hadrian rebuilt it, and that's the one we know.
Gotcha.
So that'll be
Hadrian.
200
I know
years.
that name.
Hadrian's Wall is
Yeah.
probably. Yep.
Yeah.
Hadrian did a lot of stuff, and it's really unfortunate that everyone knows him for that one wall
wall.
he built the one time he went to Britain.
Right.
Yeah, but he did a lot, and he was in charge for a long time. But so Agrippa built the Pantheon and 2 new aqueducts, including improvements to the city's overall water system.
Okay.
So a lot of stuff. Augustus also reorganized Rome into 14 administrative regions to better manage this massive empire. And his rule led to the Pax Romana, which is Roman peace. And that would last for about 200 years of internal peace. There's one hiccup with the year of the 4 emperors in there. But other than that,
The year of
Yeah.
the 4 emperors.
Correct.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah,
Yes.
that seems a little hectic. Crazy year.
so after over a century of just fighting and fighting and fighting, he ushered in peace.
Yeah.
Cons. He was responsible for continuing the civil wars that had plagued the Republic for centuries.
Right.
For a century. His laws on leaving Italy were strict and reduced the freedoms of Roman citizens. I didn't mention this, but he actually had a law on top of the marriage laws saying, like, if you're of this certain class, you can't leave Italy for more than 3 years.
It's all
You
in a
gotta come
campaign
back.
to bolster Rome, though.
Yep, and get the
mean,
population
yeah.
up of true Romans as they saw it. His early power grabs were vicious and brutal.
Yep.
He was very strict about adultery, at least if you were a woman.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's about it for the lives of the living. Generally, the people were better off under him than they had been. But there were, some blips. The problem is with how long he ruled.
Yeah.
Like the first half was pretty bad, and
Yeah.
then it went really well.
You got to look overall.
Yeah. So what do you think? This one's trickier.
I don't even know if I'd say first half. Just the first part.
Yeah, 'cause he
I'd
was
say
in charge for so
definitely-
long.
Yeah, he definitely had more good than bad.
Yeah. I wonder what a 10 is. Because
That's true.
there are a couple really good emperors who I probably won't cover because their reigns are so calm and peaceful. They're boring.
Okay,
But those would be the 10 out of
maintained
10.
The peace in the empire,
Yeah.
and they're like, yeah, it was just good.
Hadrian being one of them.
Yeah, that probably would be the 10. But
Yeah.
I want to give him an 8 or a 9.
Yeah, I'm thinking so
because
too.
He really did just improve. I mean, it was ruthless how he got there, but he
mostly
did
to
good things
senators and
for-
soldiers.
Yeah,
He did. I forgot. He also evicted 18 settlements worth of people.
that's true for the army.
Yeah.
the lands that they were promised.
I'm gonna make you go on this one
That was, a
because
means,
I'm
that was a
torn.
means to an end.
Yeah. So for a reminder, I gave Caesar a 6 and you gave him a 7. And
Yeah.
I think Augustus did better
Yeah,
for the people.
Yeah, I still want to sit at an 8 or a 9.
I was thinking 9.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Okay. Are
Yeah,
you good with
I'll
the
go
9?
With 9. Yeah.
Okay. We'll match on that then. Oh, my fingers fat fingered and put 69. I just want everyone to
Nice.
know that. So nice.
Nice.
Let's just be the children that we are.
He overall improved the daily living, it seems, of the people,
I agree.
and the image and view and the workings of the empire.
Yep.
Well, republic and then empire.
For sure, for sure. All right, on to the next section then.
Departing demise.
Departing demise. So this is how interesting is their death. Okay.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yep. So
He just died a sickly old man, didn't he?
rumors persisted
Okay.
that Livia, his wife, poisoned him with a fig.
Dun dun dun. She's like, bruh, you just need to go away.
In fact, it was rumored that Livia killed off all the heirs so her son could be emperor. You're making the face that I make when I hear that.
Yeah, I don't think so.
This
That
is
seems-
once again the woman.
Yeah, that seems like
she's
just the
doing it.
misogynistic wash of history. Where I'm
Yeah.
like, well, that doesn't make any sense, though.
Yeah,
Like,
how did she go to that city where Gaius Caesar was wounded?
Yeah.
And then a year later he died from his wounds. And,
Yeah,
and
no.
Drusus, her own son, and
I don't think
yeah,
so.
nah, I don't buy it. I don't buy that she poisoned him either. Because
No.
by the time that he died, her son Tiberius
Yeah,
was
he was
the
already.
heir.
It was already there. It had happened.
Yeah.
He wasn't. Augustus was not really doing anything
Yeah.
at that time either. Tiberius had pretty much stepped in. Yeah, I don't think that's.
So it seems more likely that he died of old age or some
Yeah.
other natural illness. He was almost 76,
Yeah.
and he was also sickly. So while a natural death seems really boring, I just wanted to point something out. Very few emperors die of old age.
Right.
So there's something to be said for that. I found a list that had 84 emperors on it. It's hard to tell who actually was emperor sometimes, so this list is a bit dubious. But it goes from Augustus to Justinian the First, so about 600 years approximately of emperors. 21 of the 84 died of natural causes, so a quarter.
Yeah.
So he's in rare company. So I think the fact that he's one of those could earn him a few points for just dying of old age.
I suppose this is how memorable the death is, right?
Interesting,
Is that what you're saying?
memorable,
Did he
yeah.
have a huge funeral or something?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
for
Well, I'm
sure.
sure most emperors
Oh, yeah.
did, but he was loved and ruled a long time.
A long time, and it was through his ruling for so long that this whole thing became normal. So
I'm gonna give him a 6.
really,
I am,
that high?
because he died of old age, and the people loved him. So I know it was a huge affair. He'd been ruling for so long that city had a bumpin', celebration of life for him. I'm sure.
Okay.
So that's why
He wasn't in
he's
Rome when he died.
Right over the top.
But yeah.
Yeah, but the whole empire knew that it happened, and I'm sure the whole empire mourned.
True. Okay. So you're gonna give him a 6?
I am.
Okay. I don't think I'm gonna go that high. I was
That's
thinking like
fair.
a 3.
Yeah, that's fine. I get it.
Yeah. Okay, so I think I'm gonna give him a 3. So that's a 9 for departing demise. That's the biggest gap we've had between each other thus far. But yeah, let's move on.
Lasting legacy.
Lasting legacy. So this is, how did their rule affect history?
Oh boy.
So something I didn't mention that is actually very important is Augustus founded the Praetorian Guards.
Oh, that is very important.
Yeah,
Okay.
real important.
Oh, they take a big role into political developments for
Yeah.
the rest of Rome, pretty much.
Hundreds of basically until the West falls.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like
Okay.
400, 500 years, these guys
All
are very
right, all right.
important. So the Praetorian Guards, just briefly, they were actually an arm of the Roman army prior to this, set with protecting very important members of government. They were the elite soldiers.
Right.
Very elite. So Augustus formalized them as the emperor's personal bodyguard and stationed them in units of 500 or 1,000 men around Italy, so he would always have capable guards nearby.
Right.
And again, at this time, they're the elites.
Yes,
That
at this time,
changes.
yes.
But this fraternity would go on to have a huge impact
Yeah.
on Roman imperial Rome for centuries to come, and we will see that.
Yes, we will.
So he also created the role of emperor. He essentially laid out the framework. So there's two main periods. This is the Principate period, I believe is what's called, because he's the princeps. He's the first man. He is the first among equals.
Right. First one equals.
This goes for a couple hundred or 300 years before it kind of switches to no. I'm a god,
Oh,
and you
okay.
are beneath me.
God rulers.
So
Good.
those are like kind of the two points, and he sets that up.
Okay.
But in general, he sets up what an emperor is, and that lasts for 1,500 years.
Right.
It changes obviously, but that's insane. This also marks a significant turning point in world history, as no major democracy is going to rise for like 2,000 years after this. And obviously Roman democracy is very different than what we consider democracy.
Right.
But still, like the largest democracy in the world is now gone. And it won't come back until the United States, I believe, is the first major world power democracy.
Right.
After this.
Correct.
Because, well, England is a constitutional monarchy. So, yeah. Well, semantics, but it's a long time. He also put a cap on imperial expansion, which I mentioned, which does have a massive effect. After the disaster in Teutoburg Forest, he stopped all expansion and told Tiberius the same, which Tiberius follows. And we don't see much expansion beyond this. Little bits. And like we talked about, he ushered in the Pax Romana, 200 years of Roman peace. After a century of civil war, this is huge. Very, very important. Again, tiny hiccups along the way, but compared to everything else, 1 year of rough times ain't too bad.
Right. Yeah. Versus the centuries of rough time before.
Yeah. It's not good. It's not good. But I think it's a 10.
Yeah, it's an easy one.
Yeah.
It's a 10.
His legacy is so important.
Yeah.
All right. So that's 20 for lasting legacy.
You didn't even have to mention like with Egypt establishing all this amazing food support for the entire empire for, like you said, however long to come.
Very long.
Like just
until the rise of Islam and they take it. Yeah.
Okay, well that's a long time.
Yeah. And even then it's still like obviously you got all this grain and the Romans want it, you're still going to sell it to them.
Yeah, right.
So it stays very important.
Huge legacy.
Well, do you have a guess at what his total score is?
I've been listening enough to remember.
And did he beat Caesar?
Yeah, he beat Caesar.
No.
He didn't? He's in the 80s though, right?
Yeah.
Okay, 83. Oh, okay.
82.
Man, I thought his insane factor really helped bump him up, but his death.
Yeah,
his death was a
death
lot
was
less
boring
common.
comparatively. His mastery of military might was a bit lower. And
that's true.
He was a bit more tyrannical and the living of people was a bit better. So it kind of balanced
almost
out.
Balanced out.
Yep. So now
The Great.
I have a couple ideas for a nickname for him, but I'm very open. So I think we can say he gets the Great.
He does get the Great.
He's going to get that checkbox. So
for sure.
I was thinking of a few. So Augustus the First, because it's kind of a play.
Yeah.
He's also because he's the only Augustus to ever exist as an emperor. He is the princeps, which is the first man.
Yeah.
And I was thinking we could add and only. So Augustus the First and only could be an interesting one. Also, the founder.
Yeah.
The father.
Right.
The stabilizer, which is kind of boring.
That is boring.
And the giver of peace.
Okay.
Which is, Do you have any ideas? I'm partial to the first and only.
It's a good one. It's accurate. It makes sense. My brain wants to play around with something involving his crazy side.
Like ripping out eyes.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the tyrannical uniter.
Yeah.
But I can't get a good play on words with it.
Yeah.
Like the first and only is good. I mean, that makes sense.
Are you cool with taking that?
Yeah.
Okay.
It makes sense.
We'll go with Augustus the First and only, and then we give him the check for.
Yeah.
Is he the Great? Big time.
He definitely deserves a Great. That's for sure.
100%. He got a score of 82. So I just wanted to say we're not going to do an episode on Tiberius. We're going to.
Right.
We've covered a bit of him today. And then we're going to actually go with his successor. So we'll cover a bit of his reign.
Establish the end of it, pretty much.
Yes. His successor is around through most of Tiberius's reign.
Gotcha.
So Tiberius is interesting, and I'll cover the interesting and crazy things that he did, but they aren't interesting and crazy enough.
I think I know his successor, though.
Who?
I want to guess Nero.
Ooh, which Nero? Oh, there might only be one
There's only
Nero.
one on here,
so
maybe I'm wrong, but I know the name Nero.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
Just remember, I said I hid.
I know you hid nicknames.
Yeah. So, well, we'll see. But that will be next week. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope you join us next time. Once again, shout out to Totalis Rankium for inspiring this podcast. You should definitely give them a listen, and we will see you guys next time. We should get a closer of some kind. We don't have one.
Could just be music.
Well, there will be music, but there should be something. Maybe we just fade out here while we're babbling and the music just starts playing. All right. Thank you.